This is the Owl of Wisdom. Like and subscribe for 10 years of good luck. If you don't, it won't be pretty. I'm either crazy or I rented a house in a straight up evil portal. Bruja means witch in Tagalog, if you didn't know yet, so maybe there was a witch or someone that performed black magic there beforehand. I think you're trying to tie together patterns into something else. Sounds like you found an ancient evil. There's stuff out there that came before the Native Americans that they would avoid at all costs. Has anything happened since then? I was left wanting so much more of this super interesting story. What did you catch a glimpse of in the kitchen? As in, what did it look like, if you could tell from a glimpse? Why was your friend scared enough of the lightning to not come back to the place? He didn't mention anything else? Thanks for a great story. Can I just say I do believe you? I don't know how you lasted that long. I wondered if maybe you burned something that looked like it belonged to La Santa Mute. Like maybe one of its offerings. In Mexico I experienced some things that made going to bed so awful. I was 13 at the time, but I clearly remember when these things happened. I would hear someone running around the roof and the dogs would go crazy. I found a scorpion under my bed. I woke up once, but didn't want to open my eyes because I heard whispering and something that you wrote reminded me of it. The one woman said you have to hurry before she wakes up. The next whisper was a man, I think she's ready. The women answered she's awake listening. Mind you, all of this was in Spanish. I just started to pray and the voices stopped. Needless to say, I never slept in the room again. I was not about to find out what they meant or intended to do. Not 100% if this is real or not, but I'm open-minded to this kind of stuff. I mainly follow/join these types of subs for the interesting stories. Doesn't matter to me if they're fake or not. I'm not a complete believer in the paranormal. I just need to have a paranormal experience myself in order to 100% believe. I'm curious about the neighbor's comment that you can't leave. It makes me think something might have followed you from there. Have you experienced anything else since you left? Good writing. Sorry you're getting buried by crappy comments. If anybody writes with any nuance or better ability to communicate through their writing, the author is subjected to a lot of negativity and accusations of fiction in the comments. I will assume your story was truthful and well written. Sometimes I read obviously made up stories. Sometimes I do not know if a story is fiction. That's the nature of these forums. I think for some, they prefer the simplistic phone text style writing because that very lame style seems more authentic. When I see a very long single paragraph story, I usually just pass it by. Why don't you ever ask any questions? You don't ask why they were gone so long in the beginning, why your neighbor was crying, or why your friend would abandon your relationship over a storm. I call bullshit. Can you please share the street name? I'm a believer of the paranormal, so I like to visualize what I'm reading. Wow, as others mentioned in the thread, your writing skills are wonderful. It's interesting because I spent my childhood summers on a very similar property that actually had a lot of spooky history to it, but I only experienced one thing there ever in all the years I visited. Great story. Would be cool to know the location, even general, just to see it on Google Maps or do research. Well, I can say I'm no longer constipated. Reading this while in the dark on the toilet did the trick, mayo. On a second note, if you are comfortable with it, maybe share the address or approx location. Maybe some digging will uncover more of what happened. I'm scared of witches. I saw a dream where this witch was feeding on my little brother and I laid there paralyzed right in front of her. It had me for weeks. I'm quite intrigued by your experience, Op. Is it possible you could PM me the location? I would want to investigate it when I get the chance in the near future. Did your friend ever tell you what happened with that man? I'm interested to hear their experience, since it was sort of an ominous start. I'm unclear about your partner. Were they living with you at that place? Did they also experience things? It's super strange the shamans etc wouldn't help. I don't know if I would lasted 8 months if people like that refused to come out and told me to leave immediately. Read the story, read all the comments. Looked at the number of votes and it's 666. No worries, I made it 667. Crisis averted. This was so vivid and well written. I was able to play it out in my head so clearly, giving me an awful sense of fear. Wow. I'm so glad you're okay and gone from that place. Curious to know where it was, but also, don't tell me lol. Only great authors can make you visualize exactly what they want you to. You sir, made this story vivid. Nice work. IDK what part you were in, but Bruja means which in Spanish. I'm glad you got away from that place. Your story is wild, and you did an excellent job of explaining and writing. Bruja means witch, or is a type of witch, in case you hadn't found the definition of that word going in your mind. Hope that helps. Damn you. I need to pop over to something wholesome before I fall asleep. This has me majorly creeped out as I lay in my dark bedroom. This whole thread is both incredible and incredibly terrifying. So terrifying that I kind of wish I didn't read it, haha. You mention hanging out under the new moon and the place became available under the next new moon, as well as you say you cleansed and blessed the place. Have you had run-ins with the odd or supernatural before this experience? Are you Wiccan or practice any craft? What made you feel like you needed to bless this place? Were you drawn to this house or property in any way, by dream or by feeling, before it became available? Some believe intertwined snakes are somewhat of magical protection symbol. Was wondering whether or not you noticed these events started to become more prominent in your waking life, rather than dreams/nightmares, after disposing of the snakes. This would make such a good episode of that Netflix show Haunted. Great writing. I'm thoroughly creeped out. This is a weird great story. Glad you're doing fine now. One of the best stories that I've read on this sub. I'm legit creeped out right now. His neighbor is shady AF. Wouldn't surprise me if he had some affairs and then killed the previous owners. Also, what I can think of is that it was some place for rituals used by the neighbor. Did you check the walls behind the wallpaper / the floor underneath TJ carpets? And most importantly, I think there is lots of that in this room you're all avoiding. Maybe he wants to sacrifice you two to his demons he summoned? This reeks of black magic and murdering. I would indeed get the FVCK out there as soon as possible. Please tell me you did so already. Edit. I just remembered your neighbor having a shovel in your dream. This is not good. God knows what lies buried in this property. Once more, leave this place ASAP please. Try to plan ahead with help of friends and then rush it all on one day. This way your neighbor can't stop you from moving. The dream shifted to images of something dark and slimy. I can't describe what it looked like, but I knew its texture in the back room. I know you said you can't describe these particular dreams, but I'm super curious about this part. How much dark slime was there generally? Was his clumped together or spread throughout the room? Did you ever use this room to store anything, or was it just empty? Can you please provide more information for summarized point #5? Damn, it's so nice to read a well-constructed story. I usually give up on the long TXT style. I don't think you alone could defeat this, so it's good if you left. This stuff can result in attachments that never quit. You can focus your energy, pray, and tell it to get out. And for a while it will diminish, but leave. If your dreams are affected, it's time to go. Multiple shamans stopping in their tracks and telling you to go shit in your hat when you showed them the place you wanted cleansed. I would have hightailed it out of there right there and then. It's when you know it's time to get the hell out of Dodge. Great read, really well written. Burning the items or not burning them shouldn't have made much of a difference except for the belief behind the burning. Some people have it as a cleansing agent, which it kind of is, considering the object should be ashes afterwards, but some would view the objects as having value to spirits and you angering them as a reason for increased activity. The one portal I've ever seen active came about from the expulsion of a demon that decided it had tried to become a ghost of a living family member. Was among the top 2 to 3 freakiest encounters I ever had, and was trying to infect my house at the time. Regardless, when the thing got expelled it left a small portal thing behind for a few weeks as a result. If there is a portal in the area, it's linked to something nasty is my point. I moved into a trailer somewhat similar in my early 20s. This was in Gatho. I lived there maybe 4 mo. It was a wild ride that I wish to never repeat. Not as bad as yours was, but OMG Saf. Glad you survived and got out. Wow, really interesting read. I'm happy you got out of there. Did the shamans give you any reason why they wouldn't come out? I would think why not would be the next question after getting the no response. That was such a good story, I was totally into it. That sounds crazy, and you know what, I believe you. Where was this place? Chills all the fuck over me seas. Do you live in the southeast? What you're describing sounds similar to what happened in Skinwalker Ranch. You familiar? Funny how desperation can make us ignore our intuition. I used to know witches who would go into such places trying to close them up. I don't know how effective they were at it, but at least they tried. Sometimes I think we should have groups of them working like police. To get rid of negative influences, the world might be a nicer place if we were so enlightened. Brujeria is the Spanish language word for witchcraft. People of both sexes can practice. Men are called brujo, women are called bruja. Snakes have been associated with some of the oldest rituals known to mankind and represent dual expression of good and evil. The fact your dream became a reality means you were being given a warning. It is good you got out. From what you experienced, I believe there was an overwhelming darkness around that place. It's hard to know what took place there long before you showed up. I wish you light, love and happiness. Blessed be. That is tremendously intriguing. I would have been interested in visiting the site if I were still in the southwest, as it sounds similar to a friend's property. When he first bought it, he made some changes that dramatically improved the feeling of the property. Snakes can be messengers of sorts, but primal fear often masks anything they might be telling you. Sounds like their message was danger. I'm glad you made it out alright. What happened with the friend and neighbor? They never told you. Also, bruja, or witch, is interesting. Perhaps there were rituals done on the land around there. At any rate, it's good you made it out safely. All I can say is wow, and I'm sorry you went through all of that. You seem truly genuine, so I believe you. That must have been beyond difficult to go through, and to feel so alone through it. Thanks for watching the Chronicles of Reddit. Like and subscribe for a marvelous life of adventure.